Stark is he's a sickness.
Aw, Junior. You gonna break your old man's heart?
If I have to.
Nobody has to break anything.
Clearly, you've never made an omelet.
You beat me by 1 second.
Anyone want to gossip? Oh wait, you're recording.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Casual Discussions with the Boys. Episode 12. For today's movie, we are looking at the 5th installment in Phase 2, and that is Age of Ultron. Actually, before we start, just to gauge where we're at with the movie, I want to ask, show of hands, who is not a huge fan of this movie?
Gen Z! Gen Z! Gen Z!
I couldn't actually see your hands, so.
And then show of hands on the other side who actually didn't mind this movie. Yeah. Okay, yeah, interesting. And okay, yeah, that's about all. I thought we'd be more split. Maybe that's a different movie. Okay, so we'll go on then to our initial feel. Nice hand emojis. Initial feels, we'll go Chance, Grant, David, then Josh, and then if Malika hops on, we'll get Malika's.
Don't worry about
Well, I hope you guys have got a good 3.5 hours because I am ready to go. No, look, I'll keep it short. I think I was severely affected by this movie when we saw. I feel like I'm having a counselling session with you guys about this movie. I think my initial thoughts of this movie are affected from literally the initial thoughts that I had on it when we watched it in the cinema. So I think because we had such a huge experience with Avengers when we all went and watched it. Like we already talked about that on the pod, 2012. I went into this movie with way too high of an expectation. So I think because I was riding off Cap, Winter Soldier, and so I went into this with like way too high of an expectation. It just didn't meet it for me. And I just had a lot of issues. I love James Spader, and like that's probably one of the favorite parts of the movie. Not so much Ultron as a villain, but him as Ultron, I did really enjoy. I just felt like there were so many parts of the movie that were incomplete. I hated the opening scene. Like hot take, hated it more than the first opening scene of the Avengers, like 2012. Like Josh Whedon just didn't think, oh, hey, I can make a movie about Avengers without all of them having to be in the same frame at the same time. Like, hello, the Russo brothers did it and it was awesome and it's a good movie. You don't have to put every single hero in the same frame with this awesome, like, yes! And it's like the gayest thing I've ever seen in my life. I just wasn't a fan of that. I don't think Ultron was as planned out as I would have liked him to be. I think it was a little rushed. I did love Tony's development in this movie, and I think I kind of added it in the Iron Man 3 podcast. Like, this movie, for me, added to all the storylines of what was happening with him and getting to Civil War. So I think, like, I love Civil War, so I like this movie a little bit more because of what it did to Civil War. And so I think overall the movie was okay. I rewatched it twice before this podcast just to get ready for this podcast. So it was a little better than what I thought it was. And maybe we'll get into some discussions about Ultron because I think there's some things that could have been done better that would have made him overall a greater villain. And so I just think it was a little wasted for me. I was so amped for him being the villain, and I don't think it met the expectation that I wanted it to. I think Scarlet Witch is awesome. I think she sucks in this movie. I think Quicksilver could just go and never be in any movie ever again. I do think this movie was affected because Days of Future Past came out before it, and so that was better in my opinion. So the Quicksilver scene was better in those movies. The destruction when Magneto lifted up the football field, that outdid them lifting up Sokovia and all that sort of stuff. So I just think those elements were better than this movie. And I think there's a reason that after this movie, Josh Whedon didn't direct another movie. That's my initial ending thoughts.
All right, and that's Chance for the podcast.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Tell us how you really feel, bro, honestly. Wow.
I'm fired up, bro.
Oh, bro, I can tell. Yeah.
Wait, you, Grant, or your thought?
Okay, so I'm a little bit different to Chance, but that's okay. Yeah, I actually thought it was a really good film, to be honest. In my opinion, I think it's for a lot of character development, which I think Chan's actually touched on that with Iron Man, but even Thor as well. Go a little more in depth with where he's at. But I think it was good. I think it gave us three new Avengers all up, which I think was pretty cool. Vision and the twins. But I know I didn't like Quicksilver either, and that's probably why they killed him straight away. To be honest, he was introduced and killed in the same movie, so that's fine.
Well, fun fact about that, like apparently, they couldn't call them mutants because X-Men and Fox had it. The only way they could they didn't even call him Quicksilver, but the only way they could use him is if he wasn't part of the Avengers.
All right, okay.
But they were allowed to
There you
keep Scarlet Witch.
Oh,
Yeah.
Killing
So they
him
couldn't
off,
even. So is that why they had to kill him off?
I'd say so.
killing him off in the movie is the only good decision Josh Whedon made.
Damn.
oh my God! You know what? I actually like the opening scene. To be honest,
Rest in peace, Quicksilver.
I actually like the opening scene in the cinema. The opening scene was I thought it was really good. Maybe looking back on it now, but I think in the cinema it was amazing. I don't know why.
No, yeah, I agree. I felt like the cinematic experience of it was pretty
Yeah,
epic.
but I think I agree with Hansy on Ultron. I think, in my opinion, could have been a little bit better, but that's okay. But yeah, everything from the opening scene to even the final scene, I just think it's an overall good film. I don't have a whole lot to say about it. Like, it's not an amazing film, but it's a good film. That's basically where I'm going to finish it.
Yeah, so I'm going to take another trip down memory lane with this film. So this was probably the first film I actually saw with the boys, as in you. So yeah, Riley stepped up to the bat. And it was a good time. It was back when I was more appreciative of it. Like these days, I've been going with other people. I haven't been faithful to the boys. So,
Oh,
I'm like that guy that's just got to that point in his marriage and he's seeing other people. But
That's a weird analogy.
Good to know where you're at with your marriage plans.
do you like pina colada?
Oh my God!
Oh, that's great.
Oh my God!
Yeah, it was a time when I still appreciated the marriage.
Damn, dude.
You're having an affair on the boys. Unbelievable.
This is a full-blown counselling session for me and David.
Oh wow! But yeah, look, for me, and this is the strange thing for me. It's the same in the Guardians movies. I think the Avengers is the better movie, but I appreciate this one better because it goes more in depth with the characters. It explores the characters and explores the stories a lot more. And I really like Ultron. I understand why people don't, but there's just a thing about James Spader. Like, everyone talks about James L. Jones. I would listen to an audio recording of James Spader. Like he could read,
Agreed.
I don't know, the Three Little Pigs, and I would still think it's the best thing ever made because he's just got such an amazing voice. So I really enjoyed his performance as Ultron. I found it I just enjoyed him as a character. I was able to just reflect so many ideas. And the funny thing about Joss Whedon is, he's very much a profound atheist, but even though he's that, he likes to explore themes of religion and faith and that sort of thing in his movies. This was very obvious in this film, and it was he asked a lot of interesting questions. I still think this film has its flaws. It's far from perfect, but I can't say I ever watched this film and think, oh, wow, that was a waste of my time. So, yeah, that's my first... Besides the marriage quote, I think that's my first thoughts.
Is this your way of low-key telling us you're doing another podcast?
So I have a special announcement at the end.
This will be my last episode.
I'm going to retire your jersey right here.
Formal discussions with someone else.
Yeah.
Crazy. What you got?
I think on first watch, I really liked this movie. Second watch, rewatching it, honestly, not as much. And it's not to say that I didn't like it, but I didn't like it as much as I thought I would rewatching it. Again, similar to, I think Chan said, I really liked Tony's development in this film. I think it brought him down a peg. I think even up to this point, even though it's been the Avengers and all about the Avengers and all that stuff, he's still like, no, I can do everything myself. And I guess that's why even going as far to create the Iron Legion and all that kind of stuff. But I think I liked this film because of the aspect it gave as well. I liked the turn that they took in that they had to destroy something that they created, which I think is something different that we'd seen up to this point as well. Which again sort of brought them all down a peg a little bit. It was something that, even though it had come from a good place, they more so for Tony again, was something that made him realize that he couldn't do everything himself. Even with the cheesy little quips that, like, we'll do this together, we'll lose together, and all that kind of stuff. And then Tony adopting that at the end of the film and all that kind of stuff like that. So initial thoughts, I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would rewatching it, but I still think it's a decent film.
Very good.
Very roundabout way to say that, but
Yeah.
Very good.
All right, my turn. So, to give you an idea of how this film was for me, I watched it 3 times at the movies.
You wasted money.
I think the first time, it was with the boys. Second time would have been with probably my cousins, and the third time would just been, I think, because family friends wanted to watch it, and any excuse to go see it, I was down. But I actually have to say that my first time watching it, I didn't like it because I was completely against how they did Ultron. And again, it was because of the cartoon version I had seen where Ultron was actually made by Ant-Man, and I think that's how he originates in the comics. And he was very cold and very calculating and very powerful.
is that OG Ant-Man?
Yeah, Hank Pym. Yeah. So
Well, obviously, because you guys are not going to grade him. To the question, never mind. Moving on.
But yeah, clearly, I had to realize MCU is a completely different direction. But I think second watch, third rewatch, were me kind of forcing myself to like it in a way and kind of to accept Ultron as to how he was delivered. I agree with what we've said, that Spader's performance is really good. And their take on how Iron Man, or how Tony was the one who created it, that kind of origin story, I thought it's really good. It fits Tony's story arc. And look, if Tony was going to make a robot or an AI personality, it was very similar. Like, if you could see that Ultron was the embodiment of that. Similar to how Jarvis has sarcastic and snide comments, Ultron did too. So it made sense for the movie, and that was the hurdle I had to overcome. I do agree with Chan's, the scenes with the Avengers all together. Not the start. I actually enjoyed the start, like Grant did. I thought at the cinemas it was pretty epic, and there was a lot of like epic fights in this movie. But at the end, where they're all in that circle around and trying to protect the drill from dropping, that was a bit cheesy. Outside of that, I thought this film was pretty epic. And again, I did watch it 3 times. Watching it again recently, it's a bit like I'm kind of over this movie. But that's just because I'd seen it a bit too many times, for being honest.
But like, can I say this also? When we say we're over it now, that's actually, I mean, look, a good movie you should always be able to go back and watch. But like, it's a good thing, and I know we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves here. It's a good thing that Infinity War and Endgame are better than this movie, because it should be. Like if this was better than Infinity War and Endgame, if this was better than that, like, we would be really upset with the direction of the MCU. But that's why the MCU is like the GOAT of film industries, because it's actually taken you on a journey and gotten better. So that part of it I don't hate as much. That now I turn it on and go, oh, would I prefer to watch Endgame over this? Probably. But that's just because they got so many characters and it's directed so well and all that sort of stuff.
So, like, if we're all over it by this point, does that mean the Age of Ultron is finished?
This is one of my biggest issues with the movie. I don't want to even get started. It's not an Age of Ultron. It's 2 hours and 45 of Ultron. That should be the title of the movie, whatever the length is.
It's like a time of Ultron.
An age signifies that he did something incredible. He didn't do anything. He didn't change history. It wasn't the Ice Age, or it wasn't this. It was just like, that's annoying. I don't like that's the title.
It almost was. He was going to recreate the dinosaur asteroid.
Yeah, he was going to literally facelift the Earth.
He did it. He recreated Transformers 3. That's what he did. That's all he did.
Age of Extinction.
And
Exactly.
I think
It's the same movie.
exactly it's exactly what you just said, David. He almost did, but he didn't.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Chan's saying. Like, it wasn't the Age of Ultron. It was like the couple of days of Ultron.
Look, I'm not defending the title. The same thing with Civil War. It's one of those situations where they get the title, but they just stick it on and they don't really think about it. Like, oh, this sounds cool. No one's going to think about it. But
Do you remember the trailer from this movie? Because it was flipping awesome.
the
Yes.
first one
Yes,
with
yes.
the no strings,
Oh.
that was great.
Yeah.
The
That was
trailer's
really
half the
eerie.
reason the trailer's half the reason I didn't like the movie in the cinema because I was running so high on this movie.
Mm.
That trailer was insane. Like it freaked the absolute pants off me. That trailer because I thought Ultron was going to be, and that's my issue. That's some of my issues with the movie was because I watched the trailer and went into they depicted the movie like it was almost a semi-horror Avengers movie. Ultron is like this sadistic, like I'm just going to like. There's one moment in the movie, and maybe we can get. I'm just getting fired up a little bit. There's one moment in the movie with Ultron where I was like, that's the Ultron that I wanted to see. Whereas with Claw, and he just absolutely rips his arm off. Like that part of that movie was insane. I was like,
And
this
then he
is Ultron.
apologizes.
Yeah, I'm like, stop. You're a robot. You don't need to apologize. You don't have any. Anyway, whatever. That's the Ultron I wanted to see, and we didn't get that the whole movie. So
Yeah.
On that, sorry, Robin.
Yeah.
On that note, Robin, should we mention about that discovery I came to this year? Is it too early in the podcast to bring that up?
No. Well, actually, yeah, you might as well say it. Yeah.
Okay. Do you guys know the scene when Tony and Ultron are having that back and forth, and it's like, oh, clearly you never made an omelet, and he's like, oh, he beat me by 3 seconds. I think that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
To this day, until this year, I honestly thought somewhere, somehow, Ultron and Tony Stark had an omelet competition. And when they brought that up about, clearly you never made an omelet, you beat me by 3 seconds, that Ultron beat Tony Stark in an omelet competition. And it wasn't until Robin told me recently that, no, that's actually something completely different. So
You know what? Caleb's thinking right near that. That would have been such a better storyline.
way better. I would love to see an Ultron and Tony Stark omelet making competition. That's the end credit scene we deserve. We got the shaman scene and Avengers stuff. We needed the omelet making contest at the end number 2.
Everyone's like, man, this is the height of the movie. And David's like, if Ultron really got created, when did they?
And how,
David, you've been confused ever since 2000 and whatever, 14.
and how did Tony beat him? How did Tony beat him in the omelet contest?
you're just really good.
You know what? I honestly was thinking about this. I was thinking about Malik, not the omelet content. I was thinking about who is Malika's woman going to be today. And I honestly thought it was going to be the mum from Sokovia.
Oh, you should have. She's better.
I didn't have enough time. I was thinking maybe Dr. Cho.
Also,
Wouldn't it be,
I cared about that
Scarlet
one more than I cared about Scarlet Witch. So that's probably a good thing.
Might be like Quicksilver with his shirt off, maybe. I don't know, Mark.
The amount of focus that they put on her is way too much, though.
Yeah, I know.
On who? On Cho?
Oh,
The mum.
Oh, right. Well,
She gets like a
was
hot
it,
scenes.
was it because they were setting up for Civil War? Or am I
No, it
thinking
wasn't
something
that mum.
different?
They were setting up for they were just setting up for Hawkeye to save. Was it Hawkeye to save her,
Ah,
her son
yeah,
or whatever?
Yeah.
This whole movie is like a marketing campaign for Hawkeye to be relevant.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. Hey, like they even made a point of being like, dude, they don't need you. And then like Scarlet Witch is going around dunking on the whole team, dunking on the Avengers, and then all of a sudden he's the only one that makes it out. It's like I've done the whole mind control thing. Okay, all right, we get it. You have a role to play in this movie.
I do think the flashbacks she sort of, or whatever, the visions she shows them are pretty important later on as well. Like even the Captain America one, I think that's when he sort of decides. Like that's his big moment when he decides to go back and be with Peggy. I reckon
Yeah,
thinks
I
back
didn't
to
really
that
think
moment.
about
He
that.
had that vision.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, Grant. It's a good point.
Yeah.
The dance, like when she's talking about the dance, and it's like post. Well,
Yeah.
like,
So when he got to the end, there would have remembered back to that vision and probably made up his mind then.
And then Endgame, he goes back to her anyway.
Hey,
What about
I
Thor?
found Thor's, actually, I was about to say that. Thor's one for me was kind of weird. Right? I found it a bit confusing at first when I first watched it. And then even when I rewatched it today and I was just thinking about it. And then I get that they did the whole thing for him to then, and to a greater point, I found some of the things to be a little bit rushed in the movie. I feel like this was one of them where, Thor's like, oh, I need to go back to my vision. And then all of a sudden he's with that doctor and he's in some weird water spirits thing, and he's like,
happened
it's
quick,
like
yeah.
they're talking to you as if you know what's going on. And he's
Yeah,
like, if the
I
water
agree.
spirits accept me, I'll go back to my dream. It's like, bro, what are you? Who? What?
They didn't give much
spirits?
background on what all that was.
Yeah, and it was just like, it's like, oh crap, how do we tie this in together? And they're just like, dude, just throw water spirits in there. Okay. And I was like, I was rewatching it, and I was like, what are you talking about? Like, what water spirits? And then all of a sudden, he's just sitting in a spa, and he's like really struggling. I'm like, what?
It was like, we need a Chris Hemsworth water scene.
Yeah.
Let's just throw something in.
Anybody like actually know what that was about?
Shirtless enough in this film, so let's
It
just
was-
throw him in a pool.
It was Ragnarok, and I think the scene's very important because I think it gave you a glimpse of what Ragnarok was actually supposed to be, and then no one liked it. They thought, what is this weird scene? And they're like, you know what? Let's get Taika. We'll just do some weird, fun movie because obviously people aren't going for this. So
I get that. I get that it was Ragnarok and it was the whole, you're dragging a sort of hell kind of thing. But
Yeah.
I think the thing that I didn't like was the whole how they tied it into him like being able to create or knowing to create vision or helping to create vision.
yeah.
And it's just like all of a sudden he's with the doctor and he's like, "What are you talking about?" The doctor's made an appearance and he's like, "Well, the water spirits have to accept me for me to go back to my dream." I was like, "What? Who are you talking about? What?"
Was it trying to carry on from the Dark World thing, or like theme or like style? That scene, do you reckon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What,
So,
the water bit or the actual
Just
the
vision?
flashback.
oh,
Vision
vision
itself.
and that together.
It was setting
I
up
can-
Infinity.
Well, like David said, it was kind of meant to be like what Ragnarok, but good thing they went in a different direction anyway.
But it was kind of the whole thing in the end was kind of used just so they could find a way to explain what the Infinity Stones were. That's essentially what they were doing it for. Because then when he came back, he started explaining what the Infinity Stones were. So he saw them, and that was just their way. Which again, we were so confused.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, why did only Thor see these?
Yeah, it was just such a terrible job at explaining what. Like they recorrected that completely by Infinity War when they had that awesome scene where they explained what the Infinity Stones were at the very beginning. Like they corrected that whole moment in that particular moment. Like, can I just ask too? With now we're touching on the flashbacks. What like she goes like Scarlet Witch has that scene where she's like, "Hey, I want the big one," and then she points towards Hulk, and then like we get this Hulkbuster scene, which was great. I'm not gonna say I did enjoy that. What was Hulk's like vision? Because it obviously began as Banner, and then he just turns into Hulk and is really angry. Like, was his vision like, "Oh my gosh, Black Widow's infertile. I can't ever have kids." And then he's like, what?
Right? Yeah.
What was the vision? We don't even know. He just gets angry. Like, I don't understand.
Tying that back to the first one, it's just like, well, it isn't something that's going to make him emotional or angry, because in the first one he talks about how he's always angry, all right, and I guess he's got it under control or under wraps. So if he does have his emotions under wraps or his anger under wraps, what triggered the Hulk thing?
The fact the sun wasn't setting, big guy, so they just got it.
Oh, I'm waiting for this to come up so much. How bad? How bad? I remember when I watched this film initially, I was like, all right, I didn't get it, but whatever. They figured out a way to calm him down. And then rewatching it, I'm like, bro, what is this? What is this?
Yeah, I didn't like that huge amount.
Yeah, but they made it funny in Thor Ragnarok. That's what I love about it.
And Deadpool too.
Yeah, they did it.
I think I liked it as well because, like, no, I didn't. I found it weird because I don't know. I just found the whole thing weird. I'm trying to explain it, but it was just weird. It was just a strange thing. And it's just the fact that when she goes into the ship, she's like, "It works." Like, how did you come up with this?
Yeah.
What were the other experiments that you ran? Like,
the moon's rising.
It's like the first person that discovered that like you could milk a cow. It's like, how did you come to that? How did you work that out? Like that's what is she doing with Hulk? To work
She
out?
milked the Hulk.
Yeah. That didn't work.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
No, I actually heard. I read a thing about how apparently what they take on what she showed him in his vision was an uncontrollable Hulk, like the kiss keeps getting angrier and angrier, something that he'll never be able to go back. I think that's sort of what they reckon she showed him.
Yeah,
Hulk that can't control who he is and everything. I don't know. That's just what I read.
The one part about this movie with the Hulk that I did enjoy was after he had the whole Hulkbuster scene. This is the first time we sort of began to see in his Hulk form, Banner, there was still parts of Banner in there, so he could feel sorrow and he could feel remorse and all that, because he like looked at the destruction that he caused, and you could see him kind of be like emotional about it. And I think that adds to his character development, because there's obviously reasons. Because when you watch it initially, when he leaves in the ship, you're kind of like, what a joke! Like this, what is happening? Like this is stupid. But there's reasons for it, and then obviously his storyline gets added to in Ragnarok and whatever. So that part of it was cool. Like I think
they sort of make fun of the whole sun going down thing in Ragnarok, though.
Yeah,
Paul keeps saying it.
Yeah,
he's like, stop saying that.
Before we get too far from it, I actually found the Hulkbuster scene a little bit underwhelming rewatching it.
Okay.
Because I feel like they built up Veronica and they built up the Hulkbuster suit in this film, only in this film. And they were like, oh man, it's going to be a pretty, like, it's underwhelming, but as well, it sort of makes the Hulk shine, I think. Because even with everything that's going on, like, I feel like he dispatches of the Hulkbuster suit pretty easily. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
he just starts tearing it apart. He just grabs
he starts tearing it apart. And I get, like, you know, Tony's still equipped with backup limbs and all that kind of stuff and backup tech, but I just feel like even then, like, the Hulkbuster was a bit underwhelming for me in this rewatch. I feel like when I watched it initially, it was really like cool and it was funny, you know, with the whole when it like slams his head into the ground and it's like when he's telling him to go to sleep and all that kind of stuff. I like that, but I found the suit itself to be a little bit underwhelming.
I just felt sorry for the Nigerians. Wasn't that where they were?
Oh yeah, so many.
But it's not like Iron Man could really give the suit a test run. So it's like probably the first time he's used it.
Yeah, it is.
Like, probably wouldn't really know the full strength of it, to be honest. But I do agree with Josh in a way.
I think they were relying on the Veronica thing being the cage thing that gets it that first traps the Hulk, but he just
like 30 seconds.
But then I was even thinking about that.
Nothing.
I was even thinking about that, and I'm just like, you are a genius. Why wouldn't you think to just put a bottom on it?
Yeah.
I think too, because this may be a reach, but I think because Bruce had taken part in the design of Veronica, somehow the Hulk knew ways to beat it as well.
Sure, that could be.
Right. Okay, true. I didn't think.
But
that.
you're saying then that
yeah,
the Hulk
right.
the Hulk is naturally then like has an evil side to him in this rendition then, because he's like, I'm going to help you, but not enough.
Yeah, but he was influenced by Scarlet Witch, was he not?
Yeah, true.
But not when it was creating Veronica.
Oh no, right? Yeah, no.
Yeah, but the Hulk wants to be free, so it's not so much him being evil, but rather like, hey, I'll use any opportunity to come out.
Yeah, fair point.
Yeah.
Are you saying Professor Hulk's in this movie, Zeta? Is that what you're?
Well, actually,
Even
go great.
even Caleb's point about when you said he actually shows emotion, that only lasts maybe 10 seconds, and then he goes to jump back into battle again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it only lasts maybe 10 seconds, and then like Robert or something, and then it just goes. It just goes.
Had to slip it in there.
That's all right. It lasts like 10 seconds, and then that's it. He's back to rage.
Actually, well, speaking of visions, how about Tony's vision at the beginning? The thing that kind of set off the movie.
I think Tony's one is one of the only ones that I really enjoyed.
The Age of Ultron.
To be completely honest, I think it's like...
It's the only one that fit the film.
Well, yeah, I think it's the only one that makes sense because it's kind of, I mean, to be fair, I was a little bit interested in Black Widow's one. Like I was interested in what was happening in the movie, which
not about her and the Hulk, right?
No, not her and the Hulk.
We'll talk about that later, but yeah.
Not about that scene when they're in the barn and she's trying to show him that she's also a monster, but she's talking
I'm
about
a monster.
Like, you're not, like, stop, whatever. Anyway, but the flashback with Tony, I think, was one that actually made sense. And obviously that, like I said, with character development adds to his movies going forward. Like, I think this is something for him that drives his character pretty much all the way up until Endgame. Like, literally, like, this flashback is something that he kind of is haunted by. And I think, again, this is why it makes me like Iron Man 3 more, because I think without this flashback, it's piling on top of the trauma he's already experienced in Iron Man 3, like based on the things he's going through. So.
And
I honestly think all the flashbacks are catalysts for the future movies. I think they're all as equally as important for each of those characters.
Well, I am wondering whether Black Widow's one will mean anything in the Black Widow movie. So
surely,
yeah, that's what I was thinking watching it.
I know it's a bit off topic, but is Black Widow's, because I haven't looked into it at all, is Black Widow's movie going to be like an origin film, or is it going to be?
It's after Civil War.
Right,
Yeah, it's recent.
They're not an origin, right?
No.
They'll probably allude to their
Flashback.
origin, though. Yeah.
I'll flash.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because I feel like that would have been cool. But then I feel like it would have just been like another spy movie, which it sort of will be anyway. But I guess if you make it after Civil War, it makes it less of a spy movie, and it's like, oh, well, it's Black Widow.
I think we've just had too many prequels, so
Yeah, that's
to be able to explore the past but do it in a more present context, I think that works personally for me. But yeah, I don't know. That's just me coming from all the Star Wars origin movies and all that. So I'm happy with this.
I think Taskmaster's a good move. A villain that not many people really know, but he's actually like a beast.
A beast. Yeah.
The movie also has the lifting of the hammer scene, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, let's talk.
yeah, that was a highlight.
Especially knowing what we know now.
Tony Stark's comments, hilarious in it. I'll be reinstating Prima Nocturne.
Yeah, I had to look it up and rewatch, and I didn't know what it meant. So that was
Yeah, when did this movie come out? 2015?
yeah, 2015.
I had no clue what that was.
Yeah,
But it made you go and look up what is Prima Nocturne. Like, oh.
Hawkeye's comment to Thor about you've seen this before because in Thor 1 when he tried to do it and he couldn't lift it.
yeah.
Let's talk Cap. What do we think of him slightly budging it?
Look, I've got a lot of thoughts on this. It's probably the best part of the whole movie. I think I sent a message to a group chat thread after I watched it last weekend. And look, it was controversial, and I want to get into it because I just want to have a heated discussion about this. Spoiler alert for Endgame, if in Endgame, Cap can wield Mjolnir, easily not only wield it, he can summon it, he can hold it, he can use it in battle, which then by all accounts deems him worthy.
I think I know where you're going.
Does it mean, it has to mean that between Ultron and Endgame, something's occurred in between these movies to make him worthy. Which to me, it means he won Civil War. He was the winner. He was correct in Civil War. And if you disagree with me, send me a postcard if you're listening to this in the comments to, James.
Not a letter, a postcard.
I reckon he could lift it.
Natalie Portman is an a-hole boulevard. I just send it there. I don't care. To me, I think he wins Civil War. I think his viewpoint was correct because what other reason does he get for being worthy of wielding Mjolnir?
I disagree, but we'll get to it.
Yeah, I agree with Zeta to disagree with Hansy on this one. I reckon what makes him worthy is more recent, and it happens in Infinity War / Endgame.
I did see someone.
Yeah.
Okay, his reasons aren't righteous in Civil War.
So what
that means? But that means everything that
he recognizes Groot as a person. Is that's literally the only difference that happens in that movie? Like what?
You can't say him in Civil War is worthy of holding Mjolnir. No way.
No. But if I can have a counter to that, so right, Cap has been the most righteous since he was Cap, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since he has been created.
Yeah.
Thor's whole thing was he wanted to do it by works, and he wanted to do. We're going to get into a preaching podcast for real quick. It was all about what he did. It was all about works and all that kind of stuff, and what he achieved. It wasn't about who he actually was, right?
Yeah.
And Thor had to change his personality. He had to change the way he thought. He had to change everything about him to be able to be worthy. What changes in Cap?
Oh my Odin. I saw something and it's gonna completely detract from my arguments. But anyway, somebody said that Cap was already worthy in that scene. He didn't carry it because he didn't want to hurt Thor's pride.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I swear I saw that he accidentally moved it.
So he's awesome. He's just the best. I don't understand what we're talking about right now.
He didn't want to open up that. He didn't want to open up that box yet.
I think that argument of saying, "Oh no, well, he did more stuff." I think the argument of he did more stuff after that more heroic stuff. He's been doing heroic stuff since he was Cap, and he's always been doing it for other people. And not.
I think he could have lifted it.
A couple podcasts ago, we discussed how pretty much the first thing Cap ever really did for himself and was a little bit selfish was at the end of the whole franchise when he went back to Peggy. And we were all just like, yeah, that's pretty much the only thing he's done for himself. So
Dirty move.
Iron Man died. Look, to be honest, I don't actually think that he won Civil War. If somebody wins Civil War, it's not Civil War. The point of it was the only person that won it was Zeno, and not even he won really. But
that's what I said.
But like, I think I just wanted to bring that up because I think it was a cool point about like why they put that in the movie. Just to touch on that, do we think that they put that scene, like, obviously we know Marvel thinks well ahead into the future. Do we think that the scene that pays off in Endgame with him wielding Mjolnir, that like automatically brings back the scene from Ultron? Because at the instant that happens, your mind goes, okay, Ultron, blah, blah, blah. Do we think they're thinking this far ahead, or do we think that the Russo brothers are just watching the other movies and picking up cool parts to put in there? Like, as in what?
I think it was a gag that the Russo brothers picked up.
Yeah.
I don't think it was meant to be more than that. Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon it was just a little fan service thing in that in Ultron.
It's kind of interesting as well, the fact, like, you start to see Cap and Thor, like, their partnership and their teamwork, especially between the two of them specifically, is starting to become a lot more announced in the movies as they go along. Like in Avengers 1, you saw a little bit, you know, where he would bounce off, I think he was bouncing off Thor's, he was bouncing Thor's hammer off the shield or something like that. But then you saw it again here in the beginning scene. You saw it more towards the end as well.
Yeah, the tandem was sick. The tandem
and it's just like, I feel like that has been something that they've been building up over. And then I guess they picked up this little gag and were like, actually, you know, it would be sick in the end if Cap actually like finally wielded the hammer. Which, hot take, I think agreeing to Zeta's point, I reckon he probably could have wielded the hammer in this movie.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe it's symbolic of America's now worthy. America is now great again. Thereby, they can have the hammer.
That is a hot take.
Well, what year does that battle happen? What year is Endgame?
2020, yeah? Or no?
Yes.
What's the day? Is it after Trump gets re-elected?
Yikes.
So what you're saying is that Joe Biden is Thanos. Is that what you're saying right now?
How far are we going to take this?
Avengers Endgame, most of it is set in 2023.
Oh, okay. Avengers, Age of Biden.
No, it's Trump's second term.
No, Age of Trump. Trump card. Trump, Ultron.
Avengers Trump card, next film.
Trolltron.
Avengers, Age of Ultron.
Old Trump?
Old Trump.
Old Trump.
This is going to get demonetized, bro.
Yeah. We've actually been monetized this whole time. We'll be making bank off these podcasts. This is
actually
the
said
getting demonetized.
We haven't said a word about Ultron yet, really.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I was going to say
dancing around
Ultron.
The film. We don't want to talk about it.
What have we talked about so far?
He had some pretty cool quotes, I think, in the movie.
I think,
that's true. That's true.
Like he says, humans create the things they dread, which I find funny because Tony created him.
Yeah.
That's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Too emotional for my liking.
That was my initial.
Emotional?
Going deep with David
He
says differently.
For me, it's almost like he acts on emotional whims for some of it for me.
What, do you
where
just
he
want to
should
be
be
a
more
robot?
calculated.
Do you want to just be a robot like, I am Ultron, I am your bad guy?
But I feel like
No, but emotions shouldn't affect another. Like, I'm not saying. Don't get me wrong. Like, he can have emotions, but he acts on extreme emotions.
That's what makes him so
Do
great.
you,
Trying to
I
make
just,
him human, you know what I mean? That's why.
what was in it? Can I have an example of that?
Like when he's trying to create vision in the truck, and he keeps getting annoyed that they're interrupting him, and it makes him act more and more irrationally.
Because that's his immaturity. That's the whole idea. He's so immature and so young and naive. So he's like a young kid in such a dangerous body. That's what makes him so interesting as a character.
I'd argue against that because he's evolved
I'll
himself
argue against
multiple times. By that point in the movie, he's changed body multiple times and he's evolved. He's watched all the news he's read the whole internet. Emotions shouldn't affect you that much.
People read the internet every day. Have you read comments on YouTube? Not all of them are very mature.
I read comments on Reddit. They're even worse.
Yeah, but he read through it without any life experience. So
Yeah,
that's
no
why
life
he's
experience, no
so
context.
immature.
And that's
Yeah,
why
so that should make you less emotional.
But that's why he just judged the Avengers off the bat. Like, he just saw what they had done. He saw that they had hurt people. But also, I think counter that question, right? What's he meant to do in that situation?
This is my issue before, like,
Pure
again,
destruction.
No. What's he meant to do in that? So in that scene where he's getting irritated at the truck, like, what else is he meant to do?
He doesn't act. If you're that evil and you want to blow up the world in your end game, regardless, then it should just be pure destruction, not caring about collateral damage.
No. Okay, yeah, but you said he got irritated and he went out and took them off. No.
Why doesn't he call? He's already got his 1,000 Ultron bots. Why doesn't he call 100 more?
The whole thing when he's like, "Leave me alone," that's like trying to imitate a child going like, "Leave me alone." Like, that's what makes it so impactful. It's like this guy is really a kid throwing.
They're
a
trying to
tantrum.
bring a human element because they're saying that he's got bits of Stark in him, he's got bits of Pepper in him. They're trying to bring a human element to him.
Okay.
And I think
they bring in Vision. Vision's the humanoid.
But it's weird because
he's the humanoid, but Ultron
trying
still
to-
had human
That's
elements
what
to
I
him.
Yeah, but he doesn't like. He should have been trying to eliminate any human elements because he doesn't like humans. He wants to exterminate them pretty much and start again.
Yeah, but he may not have had control of that.
Look, I mean, I'm coming from. I don't know. I didn't know Ultron before the movie, so I'm just based it on the movie. Like maybe he's cooler in the comics, maybe he's cool in the cartoon. I don't know, but like I said, I think what made because I was very concerned the idea of a robot being the bad guy because I thought, oh, this can easily go so many ways. So having the idea of what does AI look like? What is it a reflection of us? And what happens when it's out of control, when it reflects when it's learning our emotions and learning who we are and sees the world in such an immature and limited lens? What does that mean? What does that mean for us? Yeah.
I think this movie will age better. No pun intended. Like I just think it will age better because I think with what you're saying, David, there's a fear of AI and like what does that look like? How much of that is from our point of view and what are we putting into AI? So I think that side of it will age. I have a couple of questions on Ultron real quick. Number one, why does it take him 3 hours to scour the whole internet? Like it should take him 3.5 seconds. Apocalypse in X-Men did it really quickly. Like I don't understand why it takes.
He's not running on Malika's internet. That's why.
Well, why does it? It's like
NBN,
like he looks like he's running on like the most pristine internet connection of all time, and then it's like he's on dial-up while they're having a party. It's like
Tony's using the phone.
Yeah, like what's going on?
Everyone was connected to the
think it's with
Wi-Fi.
Dodo.
Yeah, Tony must have signed up to Dodo. That was at the peak of Dodo. I think
Shout out to our sponsor Dodo.
I'm not going to say too much more on Ultron. Like I'll let you guys talk about it. But this is one of my biggest things that I think could have been better because I think one of my issues when I watched it and rewatching it and then reading reviews and listening to what people said was obviously a lot of people didn't like the final battle because obviously they're like, there wasn't enough Ultron. There was a lot of robots where like we all know and you know now they are Ultron. So it's like it was Ultron and that's the scary part about it. But I think what would have been cool is it doesn't have to be the final battle. It could have been earlier in the movie. If there was like a one of the other robots that aren't the Ultron that we know, the main figure, but they're another robot, if we assumed the whole movie that they were just mindless droids that he has like what Tony kind of has, and they're fighting the Avengers, and then all of a sudden one of them turns on one of the Avengers and uses Ultron's voice, and it's like, I'm also Ultron, that would be creepy to me, and I think that would add more elements to like, I'm everywhere, I know what's going on, I'm all of these people are me, whereas like I think instead of that, we just watched it and we're like, Ultron's not really doing anything.
I thought Caleb was going to go down the route of like one of the Ultrons was going to lead like a Planet of the Apes uprising, like go rogue.
That also would have been better than what we saw.
Yeah, I think for me, and to sort of these are sort of my ending thoughts on Ultron. I think I didn't mind how they did him, but I don't think they did him well. I think in contrast to Malika's opinion, I think I liked how he had a bit of a human side because I think it made him a bit more sadistic and it made him a bit more scary. Like I feel like if you'd gone too much robot, it would have taken that sort of sinister element out of it, right? If it was too like, I'm a robot, I'm a computer, I'm calculated. I like the fact that he had a little bit of human because it was like, okay, wow, he's, you know, you can feel the emotion in his voice and to your point, Malika, in the way that he acts and the way that he gets a little bit irrational. But to sort of form all that up, I don't think they executed him correctly.
Yeah,
I didn't mind how they did him, but I just think they could have done it better. It didn't feel very thought out.
One thing we haven't commented on is the influence of the Mind Stone in all of this, including Ultron's conception. But it all stemmed from what Tony saw and what Tony chose to do, coming off what Scarlet Witch did to him. So there was a lot of human influence in Ultron's conception, from Scarlet Witch to Tony to Ultron. But then weirdly, that becomes Vision, which is another thing.
Which then goes back into Scarlet Witch.
I will
Full
say,
circle.
Wow. It's the Ultron of life.
Wow.
Yeah, go David.
I was saying about Vision, and they do this with a lot of characters. Like in Captain America: Winter Soldier, the Winter Soldier is just this unstoppable dude. It's like, oh wow. In this, Vision's like unstoppable. He's like the Captain Marvel of the film. But in the next couple of films,
He's so weak.
He's so weak. Yeah.
Smash.
They keep doing this where they get these characters that are so OP, like, oh wow, and then the next film, they're not that anymore.
Like they realise, oh shit, if we keep them this powerful, no one's going to be able to beat them, so there'll be no storyline.
Yeah, which I guess
They freak out.
makes sense, but it's kind of disappointing because with Vision, like they were hyping him up, and the way they were talking about him and Ultron, the way they were talking about Ultron was, oh, he's going to be the answer, so we don't have to do what we do anymore. Like he'll be the replacement for all of us.
Yeah.
And then the next movie comes along and it's like, well, guess not.
In Civil War, he struggles to beat a couple of people.
Guess we still need a guy with a shield to beat people up.
Yeah,
No disrespect to Cap, but like,
and a guy that shoots webs.
In Civil War, I kind of get it because he doesn't really want to fight. But like in this movie, he lifts Mjolnir, which is a huge thing, as we already know.
Yeah.
To go from that to what he is in the rest of the movies, it's just like, hooray.
But can he actually wield it?
Yeah, that was the question. Well, he did swing it. He's like, he makes a comment.
yeah, it's like perfectly balanced.
He
Yeah,
makes
he
a comment.
swings it, but can he actually wield it like Cap does? He
I'm
just
pretty-
lifts it because he's somewhat not alive. Like he's a humanoid, but
Yeah,
not
I
the
guess
same.
also
Not-
Are you getting into the semantics of it, or is like, well, if it was 7-on-1 and he was armed with Mjolnir, I don't think he'd be able to take him. Like, bro, he can lift it. I'm sure he can fight with it. Like,
Yeah, no, but can he get lightning to shoot out of it?
I remember someone
I don't know.
I don't even
assessing
think
the
Cap should.
scene.
I don't like that.
you know, like what?
That he can wield it with lightning. I don't think that he should be able to do that.
Cap?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. I'm asking, like, lifting it and hitting
But that
someone
was
I'm saying,
Odin.
I'm
actually
saying
wielding it.
I don't even know whether Cap should be able to do that. That's my
Yeah,
opinion.
but I
That was
always saw
Odin's
that as
thing.
him channeling
Wait,
Thor's
what?
power.
Well, it kind of takes away from Thor being the god of thunder to
does.
being about Mjolnir. And it's
But I
like,
always
okay,
thought
so
it was
the
his
power
way
is
of
Mjolnir,
channeling
not
Thor's
Thor's.
power.
Yeah, I think it is, but it's like it's almost like I don't know. I mean, we're gonna get down into comic book lore about Mjolnir now and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, sorry.
What do you got?
If you watch the scene when Vision hits
You're like a
Ultron,
lecturer.
you see a little flash of blue,
This from
but
David's. this
whether
from
or
David's
not
podcast.
it's lightning, I don't know.
Have you got the copyright to show this film? This clip?
Yeah. Oh, we gotta get sued.
That's why I got the watermark over it. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, in case anybody's confused, we don't own the rights to this film. I know
Correct.
you
Wow.
might have thought, but
Hold on. Malika owns half.
The other half is Activision.
It's funny because I don't actually believe that.
Can we talk about for 2 seconds, just like wrapping up Ultron's storyline? Where do we sit as a group on him being gone? Like, because
Is he actually
I
gone?
don't
He's
think
not.
How can he be gone? I just think
I
this
don't.
movie didn't go as
He was
well
in
as they
Spider-Man
thought. They
Homecoming.
never brought him back. That's what I think. Like, it's in. He's in the internet. Like, how can he be gone? He's
Well, they
not-
said, didn't Vision shut him out of the system?
but he's.
well, and I think
how can he be gone? I don't understand.
that goes into
He's
the
in the
whole thing, I
dark
guess,
web.
what Malika went into about like him being calculated. I still think he was very calculated. Did he think this far ahead and think of a backup plan? Is like, if I get shut out, what am I going to do?
Yeah, right. So, like, to me, I mean, I know that we are going to go into some other big bad going forward after Thanos, blah, 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 in the future. I get that. But obviously, we started with Avengers 1 as the first Avengers of this current Infinity Saga. And, like, Loki was cool, and there was things working in the background, but he wasn't the big bad that was Thanos. I wouldn't be mad about it if we get to be the next Avengers with whatever the new team looks like and we get Ultron again. Like, I literally wouldn't be mad about that if he's been working in the background
Yeah.
the whole time and has been. There's parts of the other movies in the last two phases that we see him have his hand in, that he's done things, and then we see him come back in a better form. I literally wouldn't be mad about that. I know I've ragged on the movie, but I think that would be cool because I just think that's the thing that I didn't appreciate that much was that, like, it happened so quickly. Like, him being formed and then going and being gone, that happened in such a short amount of time that I didn't appreciate it. Whereas if
Yeah.
Just following
That's why
on from-
Josh's comments on the film
Sorry.
being rushed. I agree with.
Granted.
yeah.
Well, it sort of follows on from the pattern of previous movies that we've talked about with the villains being one and done.
Yeah.
one movie, okay, well you get to see a small glimpse of him and then defeated. Which I guess it makes sense because it's like they're not wanting to focus too much on them, but I guess it does a bit of a disservice to the villains because, and I guess Zeta and Malika would know more about this than anybody, but in their comic or in their cartoon counterpart, there's so much more depth to them. It's like if you try to put that into a single movie, like you'd lose the audience.
Ultron's a scroll.
It's funny you say that. 'Cause
I could see
one
that.
of the new comic lines, it's 3 or 4 years old now. It's after, so they do a Civil War 2 occurs between all the characters, and you find out that some of them were Skrulls, etc. And that's why it happens. But then they go into a short comic book line.
Ultron was a scroll.
Yes.
No, but they all, so after the war happens, they all get an invite and it goes, come to this place at this time, this night. And they walk in and there's a dinner. And Cap's there, Iron Man's there. They're all there and they were just enemies. And they just
Like a Facebook event?
Yeah, pretty much. And they walk in and they're like, what the hell?
Boys,
why are
Civil
we
War
all
2
here?
on this Friday.
Yeah. They're like, why are we
Save the
here?
day.
We hate each other. And all of a sudden, Ultron walks in. And he does this mad speech where he goes, you humans are so, like, predictable. I've pretty much planned this whole thing out from step one. Like, he's just planted little seeds, pulled little strings everywhere, and had the Avengers almost kill themselves, kill each other multiple times.
Yeah, see, that's cool. I like that.
But there are no strings on him.
I was going to say.
No, he doesn't have them. He pulls other people's strings.
Yeah, see, don't be like that. Don't be hating on that.
I feel like they probably wouldn't do that unless they ran out of content, which I don't think
They
they
won't. They won't.
Well,
for
okay. I'll ask this then. Do we think Ultron could come into play potentially in the TV shows?
That'd be interesting. And yeah,
Maybe.
Well, that storyline they're going with sounds like what the trailer was. The original Age of Ultron trailer was, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Which, yeah, I know. I looked it
there
up.
you go.
Sorry, yeah. I looked it up. And it just, on the MCU wiki, and very reliable source, it just doesn't say, it just says, with Ultron gone for good. That's all it says. But, like, I mean, we could argue the point that Ultron still had an impact and he's still kind of there because his actions kind of caused what happened in Civil War and whatnot. So, but,
Well, I guess it's like you said, it's the wiki, right?
yeah,
So
it's like
all it's going to do is tell us what we know, what we see in the movie. It's not going to
It's anxious.
be well. Speaking to Stan Lee before rest in peace, they're actually going to bring him back.
But
Phase 12.
if Vision is the one who's locking him out, if Vision's dead, does that negate him being locked out? Like, is Vision literally is a Mind Stone in Vision the thing that's holding Ultron out of
Ooh,
the connection?
different-
Tony's
different-
gone too.
Different thought to that. So Tony's whole thing was that Jarvis was within Ultron, right? And he was like, there were bits of him in Ultron. Could it also be the same thing, vice versa? And then Ultron was specifically gone, and Vision was still living. Was Ultron were there still parts of Ultron that were like scattered and then building themselves slowly together?
And
So what
now,
you're saying is Vision's ashes were Ultron.
and,
He'll rise like a phoenix.
and
Marvel's going to message Rob and be like, shut it down right now.
Would you reckon
FBI, open up.
they'll shut it down.
Thanos wielding the Soul Stone?
They'll shut it
reckon he ever-
down.
Do you reckon he ever picked up little bits of Ultron
Oh.
in the world occurring?
Well, how about they'll shut it down after this comment? There could be bits of Ultron inside Scarlet Witch if.
Wow.
Billion.
Rich and Vision's baby is Ultron 2.0.
Oh my god!
That's a plot of WandaVision.
This is
Ultron.
This is a complete aside thought, but I was just thinking, I feel like, because we were talking about a little bit about where they're going to go in the future and all that kind of stuff. I am a little bit worried about this next phase, right? That it's now the end of the Infinity Saga and all that kind of stuff. Because in this movie, they sort of highlighted how underwhelming the supporting cast is. More so through Tony and Thor sort of ragging. Or was it Tony and Thor or Cap and Thor? But when they ragged on War Machine, and he tells them the story, and they're like,
Oh, that bit's so good.
"Is that it?"
Ooh,
Yeah.
looking for this. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like that sort of for me. I was just like, "Oh man, yeah." Like the supporting cast so far they're a bit. I get that they've had to play second fiddle to the main cast of the Avengers, but so far it's kind of been like, I don't know. It doesn't really make me super excited for the next phase.
Yeah,
Even Falcon says
of
like
this moment.
your world is crazy. He says that to Cap. It's like I'm not in your world.
Yeah, and I guess
Yeah.
things change between this movie and the end of the thing, but like, not. I mean, they don't even change that much, really. Like,
You've got Strange Panther and Marvel there now.
yeah,
Just
but I'm
the
talking.
new
Yeah,
Avengers.
but like as far as the supporting cast and everything like that, I guess the main trio was what Cap, Thor, and Iron Man, and now the new trio will probably be what Strange.
not Hulk. Sorry.
Like-
Strange Panther, Captain Marvel. Yeah, but the She-Hulk is in here now.
Well,
What about her?
Oh,
hot take, like Hulk, even throughout everything, is more. He's sort of a bit of a liability, right? Like,
Oh, in this
it's like-
movie, yeah, I'd say so.
no. Like throughout the whole thing, like he's great. He's like, they're sort of nuke, I guess. But it's
Yeah.
like if he can keep himself under control, then sweet. But we also have to create contingency plans for him in case he loses it.
It's only Infinity Saga, like Infinity War, and that he actually not even Infinity War, Endgame, that is actually a controlled weapon.
Yeah.
I saw the
Outside of
Controlled
that,
nuke,
he's wrong.
if you can say.
side note, saw the weirdest deleted scene where Banner finally turns into Hulk at the end of Infinity War, and it's Professor Hulk. Like, he talks to Black Widow and is like, Nat, I finally did it. Because she's about to do the the sun's getting real life thing. And then he just comes up as Professor Hulk and is like,
You know what else was weird, right? So in Tony's, going back to the flashbacks, in Tony's flashback where he sees everyone dead, right?
Mm.
Was Natasha's like position in that eerily similar to when she actually dies?
I wouldn't put it past them. But
Like,
I think so.
I feel like when I was like watching the whole thing pan over and it was sort of her looking off to the side, I was like, I swear we got that exact same shot when she actually died.
okay. I have to go back and watch it again.
Oh, he's giving me a reason to watch the movie again. Like, I didn't need a reason to watch it again.
You just got to watch that one scene. That was the one thing that I noticed, because I feel like I wanted to say this before, but we completely brushed over it. With Tony's one, I was sort of waiting for them to recreate that scene almost in the following movies, because I feel like everyone was like, "Oh, like that's his vision, and that's what that's what's going to happen with Thanos, and they're going to get."
Yeah, I thought Cap was going to die based on that scene.
And it's like,
yeah,
his
Me too.
shield is going to be destroyed, ripped in half, and Thanos is going to tear through him.
and Hulk was
when-
still alive. Hawkeye was still alive. Like, there were still people that were alive, so it told you he was going to die and it was going to live.
But is that
Hulk had like multiple spears in him.
He was breathing.
He
You could
didn't
see
look
him
very
breathing.
alive.
He was breathing.
is the way the shield breaks how he breaks in Civil War,
Probably.
or when we
Need
see
to
it
watch it
break in one
again.
of the movies? I swear it looked real similar the way
But yeah,
it's broken.
I think seeing Natasha the way she was dead, I was like, oh wow, like that. And I'd have to watch Endgame again. But it looked eerily similar to the shot we got in the following movies where she actually cocks it.
Even like the floating fish alien things are in his vision and they are Endgame as well in the final battle.
Mm.
So they come back. I was in my head. I was watching that too. Like I thought we were done with the whole flying fish things. Why is he visioning them? They do come back in Endgame, so it makes sense.
Leviathans.
He goes back to New York and
Flying fish, bro. I believe that's a technical
Flying
term.
fish.
Yeah, I can bring them back in the draft at the end of this phase.
Deep cut. This isn't my phase 2 recap quote, but one of the things Cho says is that this will leave your suits in the dust. And she's talking to Tony. And well, at the end of Infinity War, you got Tony, his suit was all broken up and people were turning into dust around him.
it's a good quote, but it's not enough for me to remember Cho. So
I feel like that's a reach.
Oh yeah, that's super rich.
Such a reach.
Like,
It's a
like-
definite reach.
it's a good quote, but it's also like, what's Cho in this movie? I don't understand. Like, they just needed somebody so that Ultron could go to someone and be like, "Make me the suit," and then
You know
I
what,
think
Cho-
she was a
and-
Joss
and
Whedon
I-
character. Sorry.
Cho is diversity count, I feel.
But then there is also
She's the
new
mother of Amadeus
Amadeus
Cho.
Cho.
Yeah.
Yeah, who's the new Hulk. The Hulk. Banner gives him his power. Banner loses his powers and actually dies. With
Yeah.
Hawkeye. He makes a special arrow with Hawkeye that kills him.
Kid's
Well,
a genius.
How because just on this, and this is completely aside, how does Hulk give someone his powers?
Amadeus and his sister are actually his sister's super genius, like Shuri style genius, and they find a way to give the powers to him. I can't remember the comic exactly. It's called Totally Awesome Hulk. It's about 23 volumes.
Also,
23
the way
comics.
Malika pronounces Amadeus.
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 Totally Awesome Hulk. Huh? Is that like K-Zone magazine series?
It's like it's
actually pretty good.
It's incredible. What somebody opened this?
Totally awesome.
Totally
It's because
awesome.
because he's a
Issue 2
he's a
comes with
teenager.
Tazos.
Yeah, it's like it's gonna sound like Totally Kyle from the Amanda Show. Like Hulk smash.
Wait, which one of it is it? You Fitz that likes the emotional struggle of Hulk?
Wait. In this movie, did
No,
I?
not in this movie, just in general. Is it you?
Yeah, that's me. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, you would actually like this comic because it delves
It's
into
totally
that quite
awesome.
a bit.
All right. We'll talk about this in my other podcast, formal discussions with the boys.
With Mark. David
It's
just
going deep with David.
David
All the
just,
discussions with Amadeus.
Wakanda.
Speaking of which,
Oh yeah, actually, that's
Yeah,
something
that's
we
it.
haven't discussed. The
I completely
first
forgot that was in the movie.
the introduction.
Wakanada.
Wakanda.
That's what he says.
Yeah, he does.
Mentioned.
I like how Banner is a once in a lifetime level genius, and he can't read Wakanda.
Wakanda.
He didn't have his glasses.
It sort of just emphasises the fact that it's quite an unknown case, like he hasn't really heard of it before.
Did we think it was?
What have you heard about it, Wakanada?
Because like the introduction of Claw in this was really good. Ulysses
Yeah.
Claw.
it was good.
I'm still mad about that because after this movie, I was like, I'm so keen for Claw, and this is maybe one of the reasons why Black Panther isn't as high on my list. But when they killed him off in Black Panther, it was to me it was their way of saying, yeah, we don't really care about this character. Boom, and I'm just like, this character was amazing. I've been waiting so many years to see this character come back on screen. So,
But I think it's that thing. It's just like, how does Ulysses Claw like equal up to the villains that they're playing with at the time, right? It's like you are fighting Thanos. You're not going to worry about some South African guy. Who's like, I got a comprehend.
Pufferfish. He's scared of pufferfish.
Yeah, that was a deep cut. I like that. I think, to be honest, last Saturday I watched this and then I watched Black Panther back to back because this movie made me want to go watch Claw. They did a good job. Like, that's going to cover anything. They did a good job at making Andy Serkis, like, his role come to fruition in this movie.
Good casting too.
Yeah, really
Yeah.
good.
100%.
They did such a good job. And look, like we're saying, Marvel has now opened up their realm to TV shows and past timelines and so many things. Like, there's no reason why Andy Serkis can't come back in some capacity. So,
Got shot.
no, I mean, like, in the past, though. Like, I don't mean, like, he could have died. Like, I mean,
What-
if it's like, set in
What
the
if
past.
Claw is Ultron? That's it. That's how he comes back. He's Ultron.
Or, like, Andy Serkis is...
That's not funny, though.
I wouldn't mind seeing the robot
Scroll.
with that South African accent. That would be interesting for me.
I love the fact
Ultron
that the
literally
introductions
made
of
him,
the
like-
scrolls it literally leaves them open to redo this whole thing. It's like next movie's
Yeah.
gonna be like, so that was all scrolls.
Yeah.
We're
They
gonna
can
try
bring
and
back anyone they want.
Ultron literally made him like a multi-billionaire, and in Black Panther, he's still trying to steal shit. Like,
Did Tony say he was doing working
far out.
That's such a good
Claw?
point. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, he does fit.
Sorry?
Yeah, he says they used to work together, or
So-
they've met at conventions.
Okay, so because I don't know, I always assumed Tony wasn't involved in the Black Arms dealing. He kind of just ignored it, and that was Obadiah Stane. But it seems to imply Tony actually did dealings with Claw. Like
he said, we have. What do you say? We have conferences or something. We have
Yeah, it's like
meetings.
he specifically called out the fact that he never did any business with him. He never sold anything to him. But again, that could have been Stain.
Yeah,
But he
but
said that you ran into him at conferences, which I
But
mean, who knows?
he
really?
he recognizes the quote that Ultron says to him.
Mm.
Yeah, and that quote
That's
was
what
all
Stark
about.
says.
Yeah, it's like a business quote, like keep your friends, whatever, which is which. Like that's.
If your enemy's rich and your friends,
Well,
He
that's-
could have just said
rich
that
and-
over a few drinks at the convention.
But I mean,
not really
in
a
saying that, that also then raises the question: was okay? Well, was Tony dealing with Ulysses Claw when Ulysses Claw was sort of black market, or was Ulysses Claw something else prior that he worked in some capacity that Tony actually had something to do with him?
Well, I know
That wasn't
Claw,
black market.
he's been Black Market since the 90s because it seemed to imply in Black Panther that it was in the beginning. He was doing stuff back in the 90s. So I don't know.
He steals the vibranium from Wakanda like decades ago, and that's when he gets the branding on his neck.
And that's when Tony first took over Stark Enterprise. I think it was in the early 90s or something.
T'Chaka or his dad catches him.
Yeah.
To me, it seems like one of those instances where Tony just like kind of brushes off a person, but like like he did with Killian, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they took way much more stock in it.
Yeah.
It could be.
Also, Grant, since when have you had drinks with someone and you've just said like, oh, keep your friends and your enemies close, or which is which? That's a very scary thing to say.
Every time I go out for drinks.
Bro, that's like 151 conversation, bro.
What are
sorry.
you talking about, David? Grant turned to me at the Korean barbecue place the other night and said the exact quote. Like, I don't.
You're Stark.
That's what Chance paid.
He slipped Chance a fiver and said that exact quote.
All right, first one is, do you guys think Von Strucker was not utilized well?
Yes.
And second,
Yes.
Okay, good. Quick, next question. Black Widow and Hulk, terrible?
No,
Absolutely
they didn't
terrible?
have sex.
Not that we know of.
Well, how did they get to the sun's getting real low?
Banner literally called out that it was physically impossible.
But like, he's like a dad compared to her. Like, she's like, it's just so strange to me that he's there and like his dad bod in his town. She's like, oh, I want to get in the shower with you. I'm like, this is creepy.
Hey, he has a great personality, okay? He's got a lot of money. He's a doctor.
Well, I feel like, and in saying that, Natasha probably didn't have the best upbringing with her father, if he was even in the picture.
So she had daddy issues.
There's potential.
I do reckon, though, the comment that Tony makes of you and Ben and not be playing Hey the Zucchini, I thought that was pretty funny.
There were a lot of good one-liners in this movie.
Yeah.
Including from Von Strucker.
Yeah.
I'm going to surrender.
Yeah.
All right.
So there's the Avengers.
Closing thoughts. Chance, David, Mark, Grant, Josh, then me.
Well, look, like I said before, I definitely didn't enjoy the movie when I first saw it. I think that I had too high expectations, and I think this movie really played in for me going into Infinity War because I really had to lower the bar a little bit because I was so nervous that when I went into Infinity War, this was going to be the same thing. So then when I watched it twice leading up to this podcast, I did enjoy it more. I leave it where I ranked it in my list, and if you want to see that, shameless plug, go to our Facebook page, check out the list. It's third last from the bottom. Like it's not going to change. So my rating of it overall, I think I'm being pretty generous, to be honest with it. I'm giving it a 6 out of 10, which I think is being pretty generous for my thoughts on it. I do think Ultron is a good villain. I think it wasn't used. I think James Spader was great casting. I also don't think it was used properly. This movie made me appreciate Iron Man more going on from Iron Man 3. So if anything, I appreciated Iron Man more. Thanks, Zeta. I love you heaps. Like, you're the best. Iron Man.
Appreciate you.
And it would have been a 5.5, but they had the scene where Cap ripped the firewood open with his bare hands, and it was like, that was awesome. So it bumps it up to 6.
Save the film for you.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my thoughts.
All right, beautiful.
Fitzy.
For me, I guess my final thoughts are, I think the main reason, which I haven't actually mentioned, that I actually enjoy this film is the quiet moments, like the moments when they're on the farm with Hawkeye's family.
Yeah.
Like the moments where they just have to sit there, even the moment where they're just having drinks and having a laugh. I just enjoy the personal interactions. It's not like Marvel worthy. It's not blockbuster worthy. That's not what people go and see in a movie. But for me, I enjoy that. It's like, what are these people when they get stripped back? And I enjoy that. And obviously all the other things I've mentioned, that's what I enjoy about this film. It's not fantastic. It's not like up there for me, but it is something that if I watch over and again, I do enjoy. And like I said, I still think Avengers is a better movie. It's a lot cleaner. It's a lot, concise, straight to the point. But I feel I enjoy this one better just for those developments. So for me, I'll give it a 7 out of 10.
I'm sure Malika loves seeing Black Widow stripped back.
Is that your final thoughts?
Malika, I've realised Malika's name is Creep on this.
Yeah, I know. I noticed it a while ago.
Great. Closing thoughts.
Look, all in all, I went to the cinemas 5 times for this, just to let you know.
Oh,
So yeah, and it
Big
wasn't
mix.
sort of by choice. I sort of just happened to cross over a few plans, and then this person wanted to go, and da 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 da. Anyway, I'm only paid for 3 of them. But I think as a film, it wasn't obviously in terms of Marvel standards, it's not fully up there. But I think what it brought to the universe, the characters it brought in, the flashbacks, some of the elements that get touched on again in later movies, I think it was very valuable in that sense. But yeah, overall film, I actually quite liked it. I've seen it a couple of times since. I'm going to give it a 7. I'm going to put it too high up. I'm going to give it a 7, in my opinion. I think did Hansen give his rating or not? He did, didn't he?
Yeah,
6.
Yeah, because that's why I was so thrown off. I thought he was going to give it like a 4, but anyway, 7 out of 10 for me. Good film, but obviously could have been better.
My turn, isn't it?
Yeah, Malika, yeah.
Yeah, all right. I quite enjoyed this one. I hadn't seen it since watching it in the cinemas, like many of the much of the MCU. I do think it was a not pivotal, quite an important movie for the MCU. Like I said earlier, it has a lot of catalysts for the remaining movies in Phase 3, etc. Quite a bit of character development for a lot of them. Some bits were slightly drawn out and could have been done better. Ultron, for me, could have been done better. The Hulk and Widow thing was slightly strange.
Doctor Strange.
But as a whole, I did quite like the movie. I found it enjoyable and what it brought to the table. So I'll do 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, nice. Alvarez.
So I went back just while Chansey was talking and to look at my original rankings, and I had this 7th. On rewatch, I think that it'll probably drop a couple places, to be honest, because I feel like I remember enjoying it a lot more, but on rewatch, I didn't enjoy it as much. I feel like it didn't really draw me back in. Whereas when I rewatched Avengers, I didn't think I would like that as much, and it drew me back in a lot more. I feel like it was, like I said before, I think they did a decent job, but not a great job. I think they had some good elements to Ultron, but good elements that weren't executed very well. I think some of the things I think we talked about a lot weren't fully thought out, maybe, and some things were very brushed over. In saying that, I did enjoy the film. I think I just look back at it and I'm like, it wasn't as good as I thought it was initially, I guess, or at least my opinions changed a little bit on it now. So holistically, I think I'm going to give it I'll give it a 7. 7 out of 10.
Nice. All right. For my closing thoughts, I agree with Chans in the sense that it's kind of an incomplete movie, but the cinematic experience of it, like I said, I watched it 3 times, Grant watched it 5 times, different for all of us, really hooked me into this movie. I will say, although it's incomplete, we did get a taste of what like an Avengers villain could look like, even though Ultron was flawed in so many ways. I think leading up to what we got in Thanos, which was awesome, and also Tony Stark's story arc, this movie like holds a pretty high place for me personally, anyways, in the MCU. I think I ranked it 7th or 8th, and actually, I don't know why, but right now I feel like watching it again.
So do I. I was going to say I might go watch it again.
But anyways, for my rating, I'll just give it I actually give it somewhere around an 8, to be honest.
Okay.
But I don't know. Maybe it was just the times.
Call it 7.7.
I think I want to go back and just watch that Helen show quote, to be honest.
It was completely out of context. But yeah.
Great.
All right. Thank you, peeps, for watching our discussions. We do.
I have to say, it felt good to have the full cast back tonight.
Yeah.
Right?
Our best episode yet.
Yeah. The recaps, I reckon, are our highlights. So I'm looking forward to our Phase 2 recap after this. So stay tuned for that.
That will be good.
Keep paying attention to our Facebook page.
Hashtag bring back Tenet.
Casual Discussions with the Boys, and Instagram, Casual Discussions 3000. Thanks for watching. Rare.